So this next story from the Daily Beast is a stark reminder of how we live in a nightmare and everything around you is utterly broken. The Justice Department waded into the debate over lethal injection drugs on Tuesday by arguing that the Food and Drug Administration lacks jurisdiction to evaluate drugs used for the death penalty. A legal opinion put out by the department's Office of Legal Counsel states that articles intended for use in capital punishment by a state or the federal government cannot be regulated as drugs or devices. The announcement, which could pave the way for lethal injection drugs to face fewer restrictions, came in response to a lawsuit filed by Texas against the FDA in 2017 after the agency blocked state authorities from importing sodium thiopental, an anesthetic used in executions, from an overseas distributor. Texas accused the FDA at the time of hindering the state's law enforcement duties. So this is states trying to say, hey, federal government, get off our ass. If we want to execute people using Clorox in a syringe, that's our prerogative. And you got no business getting involved. This is coming just after we learned about the repeated disasters in various states when it comes to the death penalty. There was a European company, they used to make the death penalty drugs. It's a 3-drug cocktail, and they stopped making them because they're like, we don't even have the death penalty here in Europe. Why are we making this? So they stopped making them. So the U.S. didn't know where to get our death penalty drugs. So states started experimenting with other drugs. And a lot of the other drugs were an epic disaster and didn't work. And so we got the stories of people, squirming in pain for minutes after they got the lethal injection, people foaming at the mouth. There was one execution where they literally called it off after they had done the injection because it didn't work and the guy was still moving around in pain, and they called off the execution, and then right after they called it off, he died, but he was in pain for like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, just fucking squirming around, and it's a nightmare. And the states are saying, hey, listen, if the FDA wants to step in and get involved and say, dog, you can't use that, you got to use that. That one's a dangerous drug. You can't use that. Look at what happened when they tried it in Arizona or when they tried it wherever the fuck they tried it, and they had all these problems and side effects. We covered it on the show. I just don't remember what states it was in. The botched executions. You can't use that. The states are saying, bitch, we're a state. We get to make our own decisions. Federal government can butt out. And the Trump administration is saying, you know what? You're right. The FDA does not have the right to regulate the death penalty drugs. Pause, reflect on that. The Food and Drug Administration doesn't have the authority to regulate drugs. What the fuck is that garbage? What is that, bro? What is that? I'll tell you what it is. That is a government basically giving away its most important duty, which is to uphold law and order and justice and have reasonable rules and regulations in place to make sure that we don't have the worst case scenario happening. I mean, listen, if you ask me, this is a clear violation of the Eighth Amendment protection from cruel and unusual punishment. If we have states administering the death penalty and literally in the process of administering the death penalty, they're using drugs that torture people, that is a violation of the Eighth Amendment, protection from cruel and unusual punishment. If it's not cruel and unusual to kill somebody and also torture them in the process of killing them, what the fuck is cruel and what the fuck is unusual? So this, I mean, we live in a nightmare. We live in the Twilight Zone. And I cannot believe I just read you the story I just read you, but that's what's happening in the United States in the year 2019.